Welcome back, guys. Today I have something very special for my game. I made it look cool. In order to do that, I used the universal random pipeline post-processing, but more about that later. Roll the intro. If you don't know, I'm making a 2D story-based platformer where you play as a character and one day you are sick and you need to find all the parts of the antidotes and exploring different worlds to find them. So what did I upgrade? First of all, I added the universal random pipeline to make image effect on my game and it looks amazing, so I'm gonna tell you what I added. I created a new game object which contains the volume for post-processing. Then I added a tone mapping which just colors the image with a black screen. So I added also a color adjustment. I adjusted the contrast because it was a bit dark and the saturation to add a bit help for the contrast. And to close it, I added the vignette which just made a circle all over the image, just very subtle, and with the intensity and the smoothness I got a really good result. So as you can see, the before after. The first picture is the after and the second is the before. I feel like it adds a good looking to the game, so I really like it. Second upgrade, I added this chocolate bar to the character that is named Ouch Bar because it dealt damage. I'm pretty proud of the result, so I keep it like that. To make the player attack, I made a script that is called player attack, and I made a zone which is, I think, 0.5 of radius, and when a breakable object is inside and the player press the button attack, it will fire the animation and dealt damage, which I made a script for the breakable object which is with a function called take damage, and every time it takes damage it will dealt 1 life. And that's how I made breakable objects. The first, for the test of the game, I made 4 books for the bookshelf which are breakable and we can attack it. In the previous video I started to make a player controller, and this controller was a bit hard, but I didn't explain how I did it, so now I will explain it. So in order to do that, you create variables: the jump force, the speed, the move input, which is gonna be the axis row horizontal, and you take the player velocity on X, you take the horizontal, you multiply it by the speed, and here we go, you have the move. In order to do the jump, you need to take the Y velocity and just add the jump force, and with the rigid body it will come down, and here's the jump. And in order to do the flip, you know, when you move left it will go left, and you move right it will go right. So you create a variable is facing right, and if it's facing right then you flip, but you create a local variable called local scale, which is gonna be the X local scale, and then you will add a -1 to the local scale, and here it is, the flip. I've also mentioned in the previous video how I made the screen boxes, so I didn't tell how, so here it is, I'm gonna tell how. In order to do the screen boxes, you need to have 4 variables called min border x, min max border x, and same for the y. Then the camera, you clamp it to be the min border X mean border Y, and same for the Y. And then you do, if you trigger enter the zone which you wanna select, then the camera will go in the other zone, and you need to set the camera bounce to the other zone. For the screen boxes, I've also made the on-draw gizmos that will draw the min bound X, min bound Y, and max bound X, max bound Y. And it will draw a red square if it's not using, and a green screen for if it's using. In the previous video, I've also said that I made the interaction thing, but I didn't say how, so here it is. In order to do that, you need to on-trigger enter the player. If it's the player, you need to fire an animation that is gonna be the canvas animation, but only if you press a button. So I use the new input manager system. So with the new input, I made so that when you trigger enter and you fire the button, it will automatically pause the game and see the animation and the frame in the canvas, and then when he press again the button, he will stop this and redo the move. And to close this devlog, I made the dialogue system, so I followed the tutorial from Trevor Mock that he's on YouTube, and he made an awesome series of tutorial for the dialogue system with Inky. In order to do the dialogue, you need to make a dialogue manager and a dialogue trigger, but the dialogue trigger is the same as the interact thing. But the dialogue manager, you just create couples of function that is sync with the file, JSON file from the Inky, and you just fire the Inky file, and it will display the text that you made in the canvas with the text that you enter in Inky. I've also made some sounds for the dialogue, and I've made buttons with choices so the player can choose whatever choices he wants, and the typing effect. I'm gonna let the final result here. Also, in Inky, I use tags in order to do the animations for the portraits and the name of the character. And here it is, the final result. Oh, and I forgot to mention that for the tags, I made a switch that will display some tags and use then tags, and if it don't recognize it, it will leave the default. And I'm gonna leave the final result of also the destructible objects. And this is the end of the video. I hope you like it and you learned something. And if you like the video, please leave a like. It will really help me and my channel with my game. But until then, subscribe. Goodbye.